where 90% of our customers signed over the last 4 years are non-US. I do think there'll be a shift back. I mean, the United States economy is the largest in the world. It's about 22% of global GDP. And when you unlock it's kind of awakening a sleeping giant. If the U.S. economy does start to lean in, and you see major institutions start to lean into crypto, I think we are still underappreciating how strong those tailwinds will become.
Yeah, and I would say from XRPL Commons is operating from France, and I would say for a while we had the feeling that we had a head start before the US in Europe because we had more clarity on the regulation, but it seems that everyone's getting a whip behind their back to move forward faster. And I think the race for innovation is on, and it's a really positive sign for everyone. I'm very excited about that. Now, a lot of countries, maybe not a lot, but some countries are talking about a strategic crypto reserve. And you being at the front line and talking to the president and the new administration about all crypto matters, what do you think about a strategic crypto reserve for the US, and how do you see that unfold?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for asking. I could, humorously pretend I didn't even know this was a topic in the crypto land after this weekend's drama. But, look, I'll start by just saying that I have spoken directly with the president on some of these things, and it's very clear to me that the president is committed. He understands the value of these technologies. He wants to be the crypto president of the United States. And I think, one of their clear priorities is to undo some of the harmful things the prior administration was doing. You've already seen the kind of rescinding of what's called SAB 121, which is about banks being able to custody crypto. That's a very big deal. I think the momentum, is already there in week one, and I'm optimistic about what we're going to see ahead. On the strategic reserve question specifically, look, I mean, there's almost two questions to think about. One, does it make sense for the U.S. to have a strategic reserve around crypto? And I think that I'm going to leave to the politicians and our elected officials to make a decision on.
Fair enough.
If we want to maximize the likelihood of that, I think we want to have as much support for that. And by the way, this idea that somehow I was campaigning against a strategic reserve of crypto or even Bitcoin alone is just false. It's just patently false.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the US decides to do this, let's maximize what it means for crypto at large. I think this administration, whatever you may think of their particular policies, they have demonstrated repeatedly they are America first. They want to put US technologies first. They want to put US companies first, particularly given how US companies have been penalized over the last 4 years. I think they're signaling they want to help those companies. And so, look, it's frustrating to see the tribalism kind of come to the fore over this past weekend. I think if a crypto strategic reserve exists, I think it only makes sense to diversify beyond just one asset. But look, I have said, as I tweeted yesterday, I think we should advocate, broadly for the industry. XRP is one of those, as it is inherently global, but there are obviously individuals and companies around the world that are building on the ledger using XRP, and I think that's frankly why we're having an event like today. So, I mean, the last thing I'll say about this is, it's interesting to me that a small country like Bhutan has already launched a crypto strategic reserve, and out of the gate, they created a basket. And that wasn't that to me. It's just like, yeah, that makes sense. If you want to diversify risk, any financial advisor would tell you, holding different, kind of a basket of assets is going to reduce risk and makes good sense. And again, from my point of view, if we want to maximize the likelihood of it passing through Congress and getting the president's support, I think it only makes sense to be aware of his politics and the things that he prioritizes. But hopefully we don't spend another round of fighting about that one. I hope my tweet yesterday kind of summarizes how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think I was keeping these for later questions, but I think maximalism and tribalism is probably the last barrier for the whole crypto space to emerge. And we've been working really hard. I know there are some initiatives that we can mention: the Direct Alliance that brought together XRP Ledger community, but also Hedera, Algorand, XRP Labs. Many actors, technical actors, came together to work on solutions that will benefit users. I think that's the way forward. And clearly you've been advocating for that. So thank you for your leadership on that part. But also everyone in the community needs to understand either everyone makes it or no one will make it. I think that's a strong statement you made.
Yeah, thank you, David. I do appreciate that, and I think all of us can play a role in helping crypto be successful. I think that some of the rhetoric I heard over the weekend felt very much like 2017 and a lot of misinformation. In my opinion, with malintent. Like, it wasn't accidental misinformation. It's actually, highlighting fake sources and just having this very zero-sum game attitude. I grew up professionally in Silicon Valley, and I think Silicon Valley, more than any other place, was about, how do we expand the pie? It's not about, okay, am I going to get a little bit larger piece of the pie? In contracting markets, that maybe makes more sense. But in a market like crypto, where I think the opportunities are so large, there's going to be many winners. And it's just, as you already said, I think there's so many areas where we have common goals. And I think it's distracting. And frankly, part of the reason why crypto and blockchain have taken so long to hit a point of legitimacy, because we have people out there saying things that just aren't true. Hey, by the way, one more quick point, I'll turn it back to you. I know there's some journalists on this session, and I would just highlight that be careful, when you're hearing things, that these criticisms are, who are the alleged sources that these people say they have, and what's their motivation? What are their what are they advocating for, and why? And there's just a lot of misinformation that we used to have to spend a lot of time combating that I thought we had moved past. And then over the weekend, I just was like, what happened? It's, back to the future.
Yeah, it's a new cycle, obviously. I'm going to take a new direction here. We have thousands of people connected from the XRP Ledger community. So maybe a few updates on what happened this year. We worked together with Ripple, XRP Commons, XRP Labs, and a user-based organization, the DAO, to launch a new XRP Ledger Foundation. So a very direct question on that. What's your view on Ripple's role in the XRP ecosystem alongside the other organizations?
Yeah, so look, I'll start by saying that one of the things I think that some of the other L1s have done well is having an effective foundation infrastructure, if you will. The ETH Foundation clearly is an example. Solana Foundation, I think they've had a very positive impact on bringing new developers in and supporting builders, et cetera. And I think this is an area where the XRP community, the XRP family, can and should do better. I'll give you, David, a huge pat on the back. I think XRP Commons has been really fantastic. I know you're still, relatively speaking, new, but I think it's certainly indication of what we think is important and the things we want to support here. So this new foundation, which obviously you're a part of as a supporter, launched in November of this past year. Great founding members with you, XRPL Labs, ZaoDao, and Ripple, of course. And I think having a serious excuse me, having a serious commitment from a group of folks across the board to support the community, the ecosystem, to improve transparency on funding, to improve transparency on governance, and just creating more opportunities for the community to be represented are all kind of part of that.
Well, I'll use the audience here to again send an invitation. I think everyone needs to understand what this new foundation is tailored for. Really, the mission is to future-proof the network, the protocol, but also to bring on new developers, support new use cases. And so the founding members are there just to create the conditions for the community to get together. And so either directly through the foundation or through the DAO, depending on who you are, what you want to contribute to, we're very welcoming. We really want to get the community together. And so I think everyone has a role to play. Ripple certainly has, but the other parties in the community already have a role to play. So jump in and see how you can contribute to it. And in that part, I think there's a lot of innovation that this new foundation can foster, bringing new core developers. I think there's been a lot of conversations, and I wanted to address it here. How do we bring on new core developers? How do we bring on new features to the XRP ledger? A lot relied on efforts by Ripple, efforts by the XRPL labs, and we want more parties to be involved. So with that said, there's a bunch of new features that are about to be rolled out or are being discussed at the moment. So I'm curious to know, from your perspective, what are the XRPL amendments that you're excited by?
Well, like I was saying, agree with everything you just said. I think one of the things that has been exciting that maybe could have commented on at the beginning is the pace of innovation on XRPL has really been picking up speed, and that is it's very gratifying, and I think creates lots of opportunities for everyone. A few amendments that I'll highlight that have recently passed. Well, I'll say in advance. I'm sure this will not be an exhaustive list, but a couple that certainly. I guess I'll highlight three. Price oracles, which are particularly important for stablecoin usage, are super critical. And Chainlink, many of you guys know, is providing oracle services for RLUSD on ETH. Actually, some of you know, I recently met with the CEO of Chainlink, Sergey, in DC, and I think there's certainly more we can and will do with them in the future. Another amendment is the AMM clawback, which also passed for RLUSD use. I think David Schwartz has talked about this, but the AMM is only as powerful as the assets that are available on it. And if
Yeah.
you don't have a high quality liquid US dollar stablecoin, you have to have that in terms of it's really key for trading. The last one, which is one that certainly has been talked about at length in the X sphere. A few months ago, the Ripple X engineering team announced its intent to propose a spec to enable native programmability on the XRP ledger.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about the possibilities here. I know that the team released a blog post yesterday outlining some initial thoughts and vetting different VM or virtual machine options, and certainly encourage everyone to take a look there.
Yeah, I haven't had time to read it, but I know Mayuka has been hard at work, so shout out to Mayuka and the team that is behind. I will probably drop a few other amendments that we are excited about. Oracles, clawback are definitely very important. I think in the line of sight that we have the lending protocol coming, that a lot of people are excited about, and we've been in discussion with people that are building on other chains that are really looking at what's happening on the lending protocol, because the minute it goes live, they want to get involved, they want to connect, they want to see how interoperable their solutions can be with the XRPL. The atomic batch XLS56D, I think, that will allow for monetization of applications on the XRPL is also a big one that I know a lot of people are waiting for. And I'll add maybe the XLS78D that hasn't got enough coverage, I think, is the subscription feature that will let builders launch subscription models on the XRPL. And that one has been led by Chris Dangerfield. I also wanted to give him a shout out for his work. So yeah, exciting time ahead. A lot of innovation happening. Hopefully the foundation will lead a lot of efforts in coordinating all the actors that are building new features. And now I want to be conscious of our time here. We still have time to go. So maybe changing gear to Ripple strategy and Ripple opportunities. What are, you mentioned it's been a 10-year journey. So, I'm curious to know, what were your initial excitements and how has that evolved today?
So, it is, I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary, and by coincidence, I had breakfast this morning with the gentleman who ran engineering in the earliest days of Ripple, a guy named Chris Cannon, who's an all-star. And we spent some time reminiscing. And look, for me, joining Ripple, I think a lot of people want to be a part of putting their own dent in the universe, and whatever that looks like. It's a kind of quote from Steve Jobs years back. And the vision behind Ripple, and first meeting with Chris Larson, one of our co-founders, the vision around an internet value, excuse me, an internet of value is it resonated with me deeply, and it was one of these things where you're like, okay, this makes sense. It makes the
Mm.
world a better place. And the challenge is, of course, when you talk about these big, impactful visions, is where do you start? Like, how do you get step one? And I've used the comparison of, every marathon, takes a first step. And the challenge is like getting the momentum moving in the right direction. And I think one thing I talked about over breakfast is like the momentum now is stronger than it's ever been. And I
Yeah.
think Ripple, as well as the XRP community, is in a stronger place than we've ever been. I mean, look, I think everybody has felt the frustration, and I certainly chief amongst them, of the headwinds. But, look, from a whole bunch of different ways, I find that we're in this just unbelievable, powerful spot now. And 2025 really could be an amazing year. And I mean that. We talked yesterday about some of the new licenses we have. We have obviously invested a lot globally in licensing. We have over 60 licenses around the world. Uh, we're very focused in 2025 on some of the real world asset tokenization. We announced Ripple and Ondo Finance are working together around tokenized US treasuries and bringing those to the XRP ledger. I just think that, again, back to my macro point, people are still underestimating how, when the largest economy in the world shifts from negative to positive, how that's going to change some of these things. And, through a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill, Ripple finds ourselves in a really good position in that regard. And I think that certainly is catalyzing and positive for the whole XRP community.
Wow. Yeah, we also feel very enthusiastic about what's coming ahead. And last year I was thinking exactly the same thing. Like, we've never been so close to the goal of making blockchain mainstream, and this year feels that we're 1,000 years ahead of what happened here last year. So really moving forward, we're very confident in what's happening and what's going to unfold this year. I just see that we're closing to 25,000 people in the space. So thank you for connecting. A question that kept coming when we were preparing for this conversation was the different use cases between RLUSD and XRP. Maybe can you double click there and explain or summarize how do you see different individual use cases with one and the other?
Yeah. First of all, I think this is important to understand the difference, because some misinformation, as again, back to the tribalism point, some people, I think, misinterpreted, our view. We remain completely committed to the XRP ecosystem for a whole bunch of reasons. It's an incredibly efficient blockchain, and obviously we own a lot of XRP. We are totally committed. As a reminder, XRP is the native token on the XRP ledger. It's required for gas, reserves, accounts of ledger. But simply put, XRP is needed to use the XRP ledger. For Ripple and how we use it in our go-to-market as a cross-border payments, we use it as a bridge asset. It's very, very, very fast and nearly free for kind of per transaction basis. And we use it globally, and where currency conversions are less popular, if there's less liquidity, and that way it can complement a stable coin. So moving to the other side, Ripple has used stable coins for years, and we were using Tether, we were using USDC. And as time went by, we kind of asked ourselves, well, given how at one point we said publicly we were minting 20% of all USDC. And so we kind of asked ourselves, well, wait a minute, could we participate in this market? And I think while we probably will still use other technologies at various points, I think we felt like there's a real role for us to play here. And look, stable coins are required for on-chain payments. And as more and
Mhm.
more assets get tokenized on the XRP ledger, I think stable coins are going to be required. And that's partly evidenced even by the Ondo announcement from earlier today.
Well, we have still a lot to explore, and I think there's still a lot of education to do on the usage of RLUSD And we've seen crazy things happening. People wanted to buy RLUSD for a large amount of money before they were announced. I think people should consider RLUSD as a standard stable coin, and we'll see the different use cases coming up nicely, and the institutions that will go towards one or the other will do that in accordance with regulation. And so there's more material about it on ریپل website, on XRPL Commons website, on XRPL.org website. So I recommend everyone who's interested in understanding the difference to go and read all the papers that were published earlier. We have maybe time for a last question. And so my question here, do you think we're entering a moment where the whole blockchain community has recognized the need for more focus, more accountability, and more innovation?
So, like, I mean, this it dates me. I always feel old when this comes up now, but it was something that I'm a passionate guy. I like to get deeply involved in what I'm involved in. So at Yahoo, I felt like that we were squandering this opportunity because people forget that Yahoo at one point was much bigger than Google. But I say this inside Ripple constantly because I think it's super important. Right?
Yeah.
Make sure I'm still there. I thought I got you dropped or something. All right, I think I'm still there. All right. So I say inside Ripple, look, sometimes people confuse activity for progress. It's a really important concept that, like, just because you're working hard on something doesn't mean you're moving the ball forward. And I think what happens in crypto, because there's so many compelling opportunities, there's so many bright and shiny objects, you have to pick and focus, and you have to be committed kind of through thick and thin. And when you go through the hype cycles of, first it was initial coin offerings, ICOs way back when, then it was NFTs, and now maybe it's meme coins. And I think Ripple has done a pretty good job, and I'm not saying to give us an A plus, but we've done a good job of staying focused and not spreading ourselves thin, and really focusing on how do we make progress, not just for Ripple, but really for the whole community. And I have said it time and time again, like, if it's good for crypto, it's good for Ripple. And so part of the reason why I fought the SEC fight was we thought it was necessary for crypto at large, and it wasn't just about Ripple in that moment. So the Peanut Manifesto, lives on. I hope we learn some lessons that we apply here at Ripple to make sure we are focused on the big picture and really putting our dent in the universe. So I will say, as we kind of wrap up my segment, I hugely appreciate all the engagement out here. And David, you've been an all-star. So pleased with the progress you've made at XRP Commons. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. And more. This year, we're all in for more focus, more innovation. We'll be there for the community. Thank you, Brad. Have a great day. And I think the mic goes back to the Ripple X team. Follow us on X if you want more information about what Commons does and how you can engage with us.